Right, hello everyone. For this week's away perspective, we have Ben and Ben from the Talking Shutt Leeds podcast. First of all, lads, thank you for both coming on.
That's a pleasure, mate.
Cheers.
First questions to both of you. I think it's got to be asked straight away. Bielsa, it's been 3 games ago now after that Spurs game. He left. First of all, were you both happy with the decision that he left, or did you both want to keep him?
I don't think anyone was happy with it. You think about what Bielsa's done. I guess it may be similar to Nuno we use.
Yeah.
That there's that everything that he'd done for the club in the last sort of 2.5, 3 years. It was never that easy to say, yeah, it needs to go. But I think if you had looked at it like the result sort of aspect and how the team were playing, they kind of came to a level that it were either you make the gamble now or you don't. And I think it got to that point where you didn't know whether you were going to, for me, you didn't know whether you were going to keep you up or take you down. And I think, in a way, I suppose it'll come to the end of the season. I'm quite glad that they made that gamble.
Yeah, and just to the other, Ben, do you agree with that? What do you think went wrong in this season for him?
I think it's a bit of a pill to swallow. He's very much a love character within the city, but there were murmurs thinking that it were going to come to the end of the season and we were going to have a change then. Do I agree with how it's happened? No, but like Ben, it was that time where you need to make a gamble, and it's on the club's head what the outcome is on that. But essentially, it's exciting. It's an exciting time for us, for me personally. I believe that we've got a good coach in charge, but what's going to happen from now until the end of the season, I honestly don't know. You didn't know with Bielsa because he was so unpredictable as well. But he is sorely missed, and I think everyone saw that by the reaction to the sacking.
Yeah, just for an observation from the outside looking in, is it down to injuries? I know you've only just had Bamford come back, haven't you? Is it down to that, or is it purely just too attacking?
That's definitely a big part of it. I mean, you lose any team. Like if you lost Cody, a midfielder, and then
Neves,
at the same time, you'd be struggling, wouldn't you? It's going to affect any team losing like your spine like that.
But, yeah, definitely. It's funny you said that because we lost Raul, didn't we, under Nuno, and it was kind of the end of him.
You struggled for goals after that, didn't you? So yeah, you lose someone like that who's your big player, big goal scorer. It's going to be hard. But then we lost a centre midfielder in Calvin Phillips, and then as captain. And as much as people don't think Cooper's maybe at the level for the Premier League, I think it's got to the point where we sort of realised how good he is as a leader, and we didn't have that on the pitch. But yeah, so any team loses them kind of players, you're going to struggle. But then you've also got it's sort of like it is a bit of everything. Bielsa's way of training. I think it's been documented by sort of Phil Hay, who's our reporter in The Athletic, that the players were sort of getting a bit tired of sort of the training, the intensity of that, and everything just sort of accumulated, and it got to the point, like we said, if that continued, we were going down.
Yeah.
So that made a big impact on it.
I think just my input on that as well is we've rode away from promotion into last season where we had such a good season, and we've shown a lot of character in the Premier League. You look at the wins they had at City last year and the points against the bigger teams as well, but other big teams. But times got really tough, especially over the last kind of few fixtures of Bielsa's reign. And I think that there was a lack in confidence. And going back to the first question, a manager like Jesse Marsch, who is polar opposites to Bielsa in how he handles players day to day and the relationships he has with them, I feel like they do need that arm around the shoulder right now. They need telling how good they are, and they needed a performance or at least a result like we had on Sunday to get back into a rhythm. Because I do think that played a massive part in that. We rode that wave for a few seasons or a few years of good performances to now where things have dropped. We've lost players and the group as a collective may become a little bit disjointed.
Yeah, you mentioned Jesse Marsch there. Were you too happy with that appointment? Were the fan base happy? Because I'll be honest, I had heard of him because we were kind of linked to him at one point. I know he's been in and around Europe and things like that, and he was with was it Man United's manager, wasn't he, at some point abroad? So were you both happy with that appointment? Because I know people take the mick and say it's like Ted Lasso and things like that. So I don't know what you two thought of him coming in.
I mean, I guess it's this like who follows Bielsa. You're never gonna get anyone unless you're getting a huge name. Like, I mean, people were suggesting like if we got like a Pochettino in the summer or something like that. If we went similar to when we got Bielsa, if we went a bit sort of above our station, but managed to sort of convince someone, I think that's the only way you'd be happy, like ultimately, like fully happy that you'd replacing Bielsa. So I think there's that sort of hurdle with Jesse Marsch. But in what he's done sort of at Red Bull, New York Red Bulls and Salzburg, he did really well. I think he struggled at Leipzig a bit, but I think there was COVID. There was a few, I think they'd sold a few players as well at Leipzig and stuff like that. So he never really got a good sort of crack. I think he was there like 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like we said at the beginning, it's a gamble because he's never been in the Premier League before. I mean, some of the pundits were saying we should get someone like an Allardyce or whatever, but I don't think that'd work with a Leeds squad, not this squad anyway.
No.
But yeah, I think like Ben touched on, it's a lot about the sort of the mentality now getting to the end of the season. We know these players are good enough to finish 9th last year, but they got to a point where they looked broken and they just needed someone to give them a lift. And Bielsa's not that kind of person. He sort of, from what's been said, he came out, did a bit of training. He never sort of had one-to-ones with players on how they are feeling. It was one-to-ones on you should do this better, that better, whatever, and coaching in that respect. But I think it does need. I mean, we've seen a few differences, and maybe the club's been pushing this a bit more. That like they all went out for pizza for Rodrigo's birthday in the first week of Jesse Marsch, just stuff like that. The more human stuff, and to sort of take the minds off the pressure that they were under at sort of the end of the Bielsa era.
Yeah, just to switch it up a little bit, looking to Friday's game. What are your two's opinion on Wolves from the outside looking in? I don't know what your thoughts on our season. What do you think?
I think you've had a really good season to go from Nuno leaving in the summer, bringing the new guy in, which are quite sort of unheard of as well. And they've done well. They've done well in Portugal, but yeah, to maybe sort of take them up to a level that maybe Nuno couldn't, which is quite a surprise now, I think. And you've been a steady sort of season and some good signings. The Korean lad, is he?
Hee-Chan,
who was at Salzburg with Jesse Marsch.
Yes.
He looks really good, and he sort of just got a really good rhythm and sort of carried on where Nuno left off.
Yeah, just you mentioned at the beginning of the chat saying you don't really know what's going to happen from now, but if you had to put your neck on the line right now, do you think you'll stay up?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's blind optimism being a Leeds fan that we've had so much shit over the last few years that you start to believe and there's a glimmer of hope. And, you know, we haven't seen a new manager bounce as such in terms of results, but we have seen a new manager bounce around the place, smiles on players' faces. You know, we had an absolutely appalling game against Villa midweek, and then we completely rectified it against Norwich at the weekend. And it was the fight that everyone associates with Leeds, the good and the bad, the character and the strong in the tackle, everything that is Leeds United to fans were on the pitch on Sunday. And I think that's what sees us over the line. You know, you asked us about Marsch and is it the right person? I don't think we'll know this season. This season's all about collecting enough points to stay up. And I think we'll do that however way we can. I think until we are confirmed into the Championship Premier League next year, I don't think we'll see Marsch fully implement his ideas on the squad. I think what it's all about now is dragging ourselves into a safe spot in the Premier League. And I'm pretty confident with the fixtures coming up and everything going on around us that we can do that.
No, fair enough. So you had a great win last time. We've won 2 on the bounce. Could I get a score prediction from both of you from Friday night? What's your score predictions?
I think I'd just take a draw. I'd be happy with the draw as a Leeds fan. So, 1-1. The 1-1 would do me fine.
Ben too?
I'd be happy with a goalless draw. I know your lot don't concede many. So if we can do the same and take a point away, I'd be pleased with that.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember the game at your place, the 1-1. You mentioned Hee-Chan obviously put us 1-0 up. I thought you played really well that day. And I know Rafinha like stands out, doesn't he? What a class player. But yeah, a draw, fair enough. Well, Ben, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate your time. And best of bad luck for Friday night, of course.
Cheers.